podcast crop rising to the top. Be sure to check out WrestleBiz, brother. The podcast presented by Fonzie Neutron. Yeah, it's hip-hop meets wrestling, dig it? Powered by Bout Dat Online. Yeah, www.boutdatonline.com. They get funky like a monkey. Special guests like Tony Iron, Pineapple Pete, the Black Mask, and many more. I'm freaking out. Make sure you tune in. Otherwise, you'll be a jabroni, and you'll miss the interviews, the predictions, the reviews, and just sitting around shooting the breeze. Yeah, so tune in and let these guys tell you a thing or two about a thing or two. Need a little excitement? Check out the WrestleBiz podcast. Ooh, yeah.
Because we just spoke about Russo, this is a good segue into the Dark Side of the Ring. But I wanted to speak because also one of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes was about the Brawl for All, and within that episode,
I saw that one, yeah.
Russo's attitude is just pretty much like, "Hey, I just wanted to see the result," and
Russo loved it, and Cornette was just like, no,
I mean, but
you just lost us $5 million, like.
And Russo's attitude was he didn't care as long as he got to see what he wanted. As long as he got to see what he wanted to see, which was somebody beat up Bradshaw or whatever. That was his thing.
Good old crash TV. That's all it comes down to.
Yep.
Nobody likes it, but it brings ratings in, so it doesn't really matter.
So
So yeah, carry on.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say not just crash TV. I mean, the Dark Side of the Ring. I don't see that as Crash TV, but I think that's one of the most poignant, and I think it's a really dope series. I've been watching the Bruiser Brody one, the UWF. There's been, I see so much. Oh, the connection's gonna be unstable. I see so much similarities to even, just how. The guy who ran the UWF, I see some of the similarities with him about Southwell like crazy. So that one was a personal favorite of mine because I was like, this guy crazy. I can see myself being like that, like putting on these shows and trying to do all these outlandish stuff. And
he worked. He was absolutely. I remember reading about it in Mick Foley's autobiography, and they would say that he would be. I think it was like the day before he died, they found him running around. Or high on cocaine, running around a hotel with no clothes on, and I'm just like, wow, like this guy wanted that number 2 promotion spot.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing was that before that they said that he cleaned his life up, and then he cleaned his life up, and then that just came out of nowhere. Yeah,
no chance. But yeah, the Dark Side of the Ring series, I hadn't really, I'd seen it, but I hadn't taken a massive notice. So I'm trying to catch up with it as much as possible.
Okay.
So some of the, I've seen the Brawl for All one. I've seen the Chris Benoit one.
Okay, that's pretty dope.
Which was interesting, especially with his son in that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of his name, David.
Yeah. Yeah.
And seeing that, and obviously talking to Nancy's sister and stuff, and Jericho getting them to meet up at the end, which was,
of course,
obviously pretty like wow. And then obviously the New Jack one on top of that, which New Jack is just
nuts.
In a league of his own. Like,
yeah.
That guy, his desperation of trying to kill Vic Grimes is nuts. Like,
yep.
too much heat in that kitchen. But like. It's a really good series, and I think it touches on something that people don't look at, especially the sort of outsiders that will look at it and go, the business is fake. There's nothing. If anything, I've always said that I found that the business has always been probably one of the darkest industries and most cutthroat industries that you could probably ever get in. And I think this kind of series has shown that. And the next the upcoming one about Owen Hart, I think is going to be a really interesting one, in the sense that you can read as much about what happened and speak to the people, you know, like Russo and stuff like that about the incident. But I know that they're going to interview Owen's wife Martha.
Okay.
Well. And they're also talking about there's supposedly some unseen footage in this documentary. Now I can see that how this documentary series in general goes, of what they mean by that, because it's one of those where you're kind of like you get that more. For the last 20 years, you've had that morbid fan. I wouldn't call it fan base, but you've had morbid sort of fans that are desperate to find this footage of Owen falling.
Of course, yeah.
Never really got it myself. Never really understood what the fascination with watching somebody fall 70 foot to their death is all about. It's chilling enough when you watch Over the Edge back.
I think, at the time, some people may have wanted to see it because, you know, they thought wrestling's a work and they want, you know, see just how legit it was.
Well, a lot of people were kind of debating that at the time anyway, but there was something off about it in general when you watch it. Like there's doing an angle and then there's something doesn't quite work. And if you actually revisit the event and listen to JR and the King and how they commentate and just kind of how everything pans out.
Everything took such a somber turn. I don't, you know, even the Raw the next day, you know, with all the talent. Yeah. I don't remember anything like that in wrestling at the even just going back. I remember going to school. I was still in secondary, school then at the time, and I missed the pay-per-view because those days in the UK we'd have to wait up to like maybe 1 a.m.
You're gonna be on at like midnight or something.
Yeah, midnight, 1 a.m. sometimes to catch them, and sometimes you're fortunate where you get away to do it, or your parents would let you stay up. But I just remember on that particular occasion I couldn't. And I'm sort of glad that I didn't, because it would have been, even though
for me it was like I still remember it because I sometimes stay up to watch like the big events like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, or Survivor Series, stuff like that. But this was kind of one of those middle shows.
Exactly.
Kind of disregarded. I'll watch it.
Watch it tomorrow.
And I remember it was my brother had actually stayed up to watch it, and I remember him coming in the next morning, and he was just, I said, "Oh, so what was it? What happened? Was it any good?" And he was like, "Oh, Owen Hart died." I was like, "Sorry?" He's like, "Owen Hart died." What do you mean Owen Hart died? He went, "He died." I was like, "How?" He's like, "Oh, he fell." So obviously, like at the time, I was, Jesus, I would have been about 10, maybe 10, 11, something like that. Yeah. So I went to go see this because he hadn't explained it, and I'm sort of like, Owen Hart died. He in the ring. So, and then you end up watching it, and you're just sort of like, obviously it cuts all these angles, which in hindsight is actually really quite lucky that happened. Because that just would have been like awful for a TV audience. And then it obviously cuts to this promo of him in his blue blazer thing with Kevin Kelly, and then it just cuts to the crowd for like 9 minutes, and JR are trying to kind of explain it, and you're just like watching it in complete disbelief, like, oh, this is weird, like. And then I found out it was like in the news and stuff like that, and even in the UK, and watching it, and you're just like, wow, that's actually nuts. Like, he actually died. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they touch on.
Yeah, no, as you said, it's still killing to this day, man. And what they're going to touch on it's got to be stuff that we haven't seen before. Because even if we look at some of the other documentaries that they've produced, they've all give information and accounts and sides of stories that maybe haven't been that public until now, and just different perspective and vantage point. And even when you speak about Martha, she's been completely against the WWE for the most part. So what's been reported, and she's held up a lot of.
She's been completely against them, and I think the fact that she's been involved in this documentary, and she's probably knows, she'll know a lot better in terms of some of the other people that would have spoken on it. Whether or not they're going to show any actual footage. I don't think they will. I think they might show some unreleased stuff of maybe when he's, you know, being worked on or something like that. I don't know, or what they mean by hunting footage. But it'll be an interesting look. But I think it'll be an interesting in general to get it from that point of view of family, and, as you know, not just from the kind of entertainment side, not entertainment side, but from WWE side of it, and actually get it from like the family's point of view, you know, his wife and what happened. And it will be interesting to see who they speak to. You know, Vince Russo will probably pop up in it again.
Yeah, I hope I hope they get Brett and a few others and stuff on there as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And another person that I've always thought was quite interesting, I've never really spoken to, was actually the Godfather, because he was supposed to face him, and I've always wondered what it would probably be like. He would have been waiting backstage, and he would have been waiting to come out, and somebody must have just told him, "Nah, that's it, it's done."
Yeah. You know what? When you say that, that's
go home. And, you know, what would be going through his head? And I know he was a talking head in the Brawl for All, so it might be interesting to have him as a talking head in this one.
And, you know, the Godfather was actually, we don't know how close outside of the ring, but we know he was close with Owen within the confines of WWE and stuff. Yeah. They worked together as part of the New Nation and stuff as well. You know, I mean, I loved Owen. Owen was just such a personality and a character that we had seen evolve over. You know, I remember when first seeing him in the early days where he used to have all the colored stuff, and he was, you know, tagging with Coco and stuff. You know, he come from the Rocket, and then when he started doing his own King of Hearts stick, Owen was like, you know, Brett was a brilliant wrestler, and Owen was but Owen was just, he was like the younger brother in a different league, but he had so much about him.
He had the kind of the really good, almost.
Yeah, not the person. You know, when everybody talks,
like with the Slammies, when he just.
Of course, when you see where everybody compares like Brett and Shawn, and they say, you know, Shawn had better, you know, charisma and stuff as well, and different sort of level. You know, they were both two of the greatest talents of their time, and especially working together, Brett and Shawn. But let's say Owen. I mean, Owen had that level of personality as well, and to a degree, he was under Brett's shadow because, you know, Brett was the big brother, and he was known for being, you know, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But even in working against each other, and then sort of pulling it together at the end, one of my best Owen Hart moments actually is there was an angle. I think it was on Raw. I can't remember who he faced, and, you know, Brett sort of came out and he got Owen and the Bulldog back together, and that's when they formed the New Heart Foundation. And, you know, it was kind of an emotional moment. Owen was in the Foundation. Yeah, and, you know, but that was sort of like a peak time.
It was. I think that it's. I think Owen Hart dying was probably one of the biggest tragedies to happen to the business.
100%.
Massively talented, and I think the saddest thing is what happened, how he was treated towards the end, that no one ever seemed to touch on either.
Exactly.
Because he didn't want to do certain angles, and they dumped him back in the Blazer gimmick, and as almost like a punishment, I would say. And, you know, he was relegated as Owen Hart to dark matches. He actually had a dark match with Kurt Angle before he died. Yeah, which is I didn't realise that either, and put Kurt over. And seeing somebody that talented get relegated, and then after he dies, that's it. And they were like, yeah, we were going to give him the game gimmick and stuff like that. And it's almost like, I don't really believe that bullshit. I think. Well,
everybody says the blue Blazer stuff, you know, was sort of like punishment, because if I remember rightly, at that time, you know, Brett had gone, Davey and Neidhart had gone. After the Montreal screw job, we even seen Rick Rude, he left. So quite a few people, even within WWE or WWF at the time, wasn't happy with what had happened. And if they had the choice to get out of their contracts, Owen being one of them, he probably, you know, 9 times out of 10, he would have left too. So
Owen had potential to go further, but then what ended up happening, the reason for the Blazer thing, from what I believe, is that there was supposed to be an angle, like a love triangle with him, Jarrett, and Bebra. And Owen was like a proper, because he was a proper family man, he was basically just like, I'm not going to do an angle that portrays me as being this when I'm not like that in real life. And I kind of want to, you know, I'm happy to do the bad guy sort of heel gimmick type thing, but I'm not going to take it to a point where I'm crossing lines and stuff. And, you know, my kids are going to watch that, and, you know, they know I'm not like that in real life, but they know I'm like that on TV. But to see me like, you know, doing this or doing that. And then I think that's sort of like, right, well, if you're not going to do that, here's your blazer costume back. Crack on. You just make yourself look like an idiot on TV. Next thing you know, that happens on a live pay-per-view, and then everything's completely forgotten about, and he's like the best thing that ever happened. So it's one of those where it'll be interesting to see what they touch on and how they kind of deal with it. So yeah, I think that'll be another great addition to the Dark Side of the Ring series.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, just to sort of move on from that slightly, not in any bad way, because, you know, I could sit here and talk about, especially like the legacy of Owen for a long time, because we got the utmost respect for Owen Hart and stuff as well. So definitely peace to Owen Hart and the whole Hart family. So
Yeah, the cream of the podcast crop rising to the top. Be sure to check out WrestleBiz, brother. The podcast presented by Fonzie Neutron. Yeah, it's hip-hop meets wrestling, dig it? Powered by Bout Dat Online. Yeah, www.boutdatonline.com. They get funky like a monkey. Special guests like Tony Iron, Pineapple Pete, the Black Mask, and many more. I'm freaking out. Make sure you tune in. Otherwise, you'll be a jabroni, and you'll miss the interviews, the predictions, the reviews, and just sitting around shooting the breeze. Yeah, so tune in and let these guys tell you a thing or two about a thing or two. Need a little excitement? Check out the WrestleBiz podcast. Ooh.